poor and ugly people in poor and ugly places. I'm really good at clickbait, but let me know of more controversial title ideas for the future. Now thankfully, I'm not poor, and I'm only a little bit ugly. On this blue marble that we live on, it's streaked with shades of green and brown, and we've managed to monopolize beauty, making it less and less accessible across all cultures, economic structures, and assortments of power, ensuring that the choices and will of others irreparably taint the very way in which we perceive the beauty in our existence. Our instinct towards interconnectedness manifests itself in so many good and bad ways, but one in particular that I find real shitty is the fact that the almost objective wonder of a midnight sky, the splendor of a sunset, the symphony of honeybees and lovebirds in the spring, and the hectic calm of a sheltered creek gushing under an overpass are all experiences heavily segregated from the poor and the ugly. Long ago, we may have considered beauty as ordained by our creators as gifts of consciousness, but through the ever-increasing scaffolds of society, beauty has become something bastardized by mankind and sold on the TikTok shop for 20% off. The loss of beauty is something I want to talk about today in two respects, with two texts. We'll consider beauty in housing, living, and architecture, as well as beauty in personhood, identity, and social perception. The two readings in question are Ursula K. Le Guin's The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas and Married Life, an excerpt of The High Caste Hindu Woman by Pandita Ramabai. First, let me provide you, dear listener, with a brief biography of the two ladies. Ursula K. Le Guin is a super famous and decorated American writer in the sci-fi and speculative fiction genre. Her work consistently challenged systems of power and explored many themes of progressive thought like anti-authoritarianism, collective responsibility, race, gender, and the environment. Fun fact, she was among the earlier critics of Amazon and its bullshit monopolistic tactics in 2009 with respect to the publishing industry.
We just saw a profiteer try to punish a publisher for disobedience, and writers threatened by corporate fatwa. And I see a lot of us, the producers, who write the books and make the books, accepting this, letting commodity profiteers sell us like deodorant and tell us what to publish and what to write. Well, I love you too, darling.
Pandita Ramabai, perhaps less known in the contemporary Anglosphere, was a trans-imperial reformer born in India. She was a radical in many senses. A terrifyingly literate Brahmin woman, she was a Sanskrit-knowing, cross-caste wedding feminist reformer who switched teams into Christianity and advocated on behalf of women worldwide in her writings. Now, Ramabai is older and has a slightly cooler name than Le Guin, so we'll start with her. The excerpt Married Life discusses the experience of marriage among Indian women, viewed through a scathingly feminist lens. She describes the systematic dehumanization of girls as they're fed into a factory designed to uphold oppressive social roles for women and poor people being synonymous with those in lower castes. Beauty is described in the text as a weapon to lure girls into submission. It's taken and offered very methodically to leave women feeling worthless in their later years. Furthermore, we see in her writings the equivalence of beauty to goodness, merit, and status. Describing the importance of marriage, Ramabai cites the Manu as positively forbidding parents and guardians to give away girls in marriage, unless good suitors were offered to them. The verse goes on to describe the good suitor as someone distinguished, handsome, and of equal caste. If we're being charitable, we can also infer that the good qualities may well include things like not beating the shit out of your wife. But if chief importance to the scripture is caste, beauty, and distinction, none of which speak to moral character, don't get me wrong. I think I can speak for all ladies when I say we take after an attractive partner. The question is, though, is a suitor to be good for a woman or good with a woman? That is to say, are his charms commanded to serve the love he seeks or to court the affections of the powerful men in her life? Just below the quote from scripture, Ramabai asserts that the popular belief is that a woman can have no salvation unless she be formally married. Like Eve, carrying the symbolic burden of man's biblical fall, so too may we ask if women in marriage carry a veneer of beauty and worthiness of affection, secretly these hideous representations of evil that only require a good spouse in the name of redemption, rather than according to what women actually deserve. Consider this quote on the true experience of marriage, according to Ramabai, where beauty is represented by the metaphor of mealtime. The women of the family usually take their meals after the men have had theirs, and the wife, as a rule, eats what her lord may please to leave on his plate. Consider the imagery of a ripe, decadent meal, one that you must have prepared yourself because the man surely didn't. The plate is stripped of its sustenance by your lord, and reduced to bones and pits and pathetic grains of rice, benevolently bestowed on you, beloved woman, for your rightful enjoyment. Here, beauty is turned into this joke of a concept. You see it, you make it, but you can't have it. And make sure to say thank you for the small concessions I offer you. Be grateful that your lord and all of his distinguished suitorhood has allowed you to witness beauty and helped you fully grasp the idea that it is something you will never truly possess. And it's this denial, this precise, intentional withholding of beauty, that mirrors the broader social structure I'm talking about. Ramabai's metaphor is not just about marriage. It's about a condition of existence that certain people are born into, in this case women, where beauty is never for them. The trappings of dignity, joy, softness, imagination, they exist somewhere in the ether, but only to be served to others. The poor and the overlooked prepare the feast but eat the scraps, not just materially, but emotionally. Aesthetic deprivation is a mode of control and an ideology. In this case, one of patriarchy. It's a way of saying, you were never meant to be surrounded by wonder. It's an offense to the senses, honestly, the self-concept and the spirit to a crushing degree. What drives this point home is Ramabai's bitter account of the wedding processions. It's a cruel spectacle that further illustrates my point. Even the poorest families take great pains to make it pleasant to everybody. Children enjoy it most of all. There are gorgeous dresses, bright colored clothes, beautiful decorations, music, song, firework, fun, plenty of fruit and sweet things to eat and to give away, lovely flowers, and the whole house is illuminated with many lamps. What can be more tempting to a child's mind than these? In addition to all this, the big elephant is sometimes brought, on which the newly married children ride in procession amidst all sorts of fun. Is it not grand enough for a child? Oh, I shall ride on the back of the elephant, thinks the girl, and there's something more besides. All the people in the house will wait on me. It's almost too cruel how beautiful it all is. The clothes, the music, the fireworks, the sweets, the flowers, and then the elephant. Personally, one of my top 5 favorite animals alongside giraffes, koalas, never mind. It's towering and gentle like the girl, unknowingly carrying her not to freedom, but to a life already written for her. Its pageantry is prophecy. She believes sincerely that this means something, that the whole world, her whole house, is finally noticing her, loving her. But what she doesn't realize is that the attention is conditional. She's only worthy of the elephant ride, of the joy, the light, the admiration, because she's being handed over, because she's about to become useful to someone else. The beauty isn't for her, it's on display through her. The elephant becomes a metaphor for her innocence, and it's controlled, paraded, used. And in her longing to be seen, to matter, the girl mirrors the animal perfectly. The tragedy is that she's not brainwashed in a conventional, mature, socio-political sense. She's enchanted in a youthful stupor, and that's the more devastating magic. It's the same spell we see cast today in different costumes. Pageants, sugar daddies, the influencer economy, the glamorization of escorting, literal and figurative prostitution, systems that promise power to the powerless by giving them roles to play within hierarchies built to consume them. It feels like beauty, it feels like choice, but it's only power if it lasts after the lights go down, only beauty if you can keep it to yourself. These systems tell women, especially poor women, that they're special when they're chosen, when they're adored, when they're turned into ideas. But as Ramabai shows us, beauty offered as a gift is always beauty that can be taken away. The girl doesn't ride the alluring elephant because she's free. She rides it because she's suspended in a glittery, golden cortege. Before I continue to discussing LeGuin and circling back to the prettiness of penury, I want to discuss a 5-syllable word tossed about quite often when discussing the beautification of cities and the ugliness of poverty. The word is this: gentrification. You hear it with respect to millennial hipster burger joints selling truffle fries, bodegas turned boutiques, and the overall sentiment of wealthy, often white, encroachment on black and brown communities. You'll hear it in art and media where things like rap are described as gentrified when taken up by cornball. We consider this Eden on earth that is described in Omelas. We see that it is a land of eternal joy with a sinister secret just beneath the surface. The pleasures of Omelas are laid out like a buffet of utopian indulgences. For those who like it, the fate-insistent sweetness of Druze may perfume the ways of the city. Druze, which first brings a great lightness and brilliance to the mind and limbs, and then after some hours of dreamy languor and wonderful visions at last of the very arcane and inmost secrets of the universe, as well as exciting, the pleasure of sex beyond all belief, and it is not habit forming. Imagine this, a drug that gives you enlightenment, sexy visions, and zero consequences. Certainly sounds like a better time than fentanyl, am I right? For more modest tastes, she adds, I think that there ought to be beer. Barring my obvious religious affiliations, I think that might be a charming thought. Except, of course, in real life, beer doesn't bring lightness and brilliance to the limbs. It brings hangovers and ear-splitting karaoke. Similarly, Drew's dreamy languor looks a lot less poetic when it's someone seeing shadow demons in their closet after one too many tabs. Still, Omelas continues its parade of pleasure. It even offers victory, but only the kind that doesn't involve violence. The sense of victory, surely the celebration of courage, but as we did without clergy, let us do without soldiers. The joy built upon successful slaughter is not the right kind of joy. It will not do. It is fearful and it is trivial. Here again, real life just doesn't quite live up to this beautiful dream. In our world, we're very into victory, but never the gentle kind. The concept of an easy victory is usually mocked. If someone wipes the floor with their opponent, we don't throw a parade unless their loser was truly insufferable. If you kick the shit out of an old lady, no one's cheering unless she's the head of an HOA board, or Margaret Thatcher. Speaking of funny things like the death of Margaret Thatcher, in Omelas, though, there's no ridicule, no ironic detachment, no self-awareness. Everything is incredibly sincere. Oddly, for a city so full of pleasure, there's no laughter. That's because humor often lives at the crossroads of ugliness and absurdity. It thrives on contradiction. Without suffering, without tragedy, what's there to laugh at? Maybe that's why LeGuin writes, only pain is intellectual, only evil interesting. This is the treason of the artist, a refusal to admit the banality of evil and the terrible boredom of pain. This is central to my point. In Omelas, there is no treason, thankfully, no art that disrupts or questions. The city's perfection is so complete, it begins to feel suspect. It's beautiful, yes, but only because someone else is paying the price for that beauty. Spoilers ahead. Actually, the soul is child. It's paying the sins of these people. Once you see this price, it's hard to unsee it. The illusion of beauty is almost real. You can feel it. But the artist's treason, their fascination with evil, probing its uncomfortable depths, is something we tend to champion in the real world. Indeed, LeGuin herself is an artist of language. She weaves stories out of evil, so she too can understand the incredible virtue in ugliness. Now, when we speak of gentrification, part of the reason it is so nauseating is the fact that ugly poverty birthed some of the greatest creativity. The starving artists gave us hip-hop and jazz, they gave us blues and country and folk song, they gave us poetry and laughter, perhaps because collectives rooted in scarcity are attuned to the sensitive, soft hum of artistic genius. In Omelas, the child suffers so that others may live beautifully. At first, people cry when they learn the truth, but they don't leave. LeGuin writes, they know that if the wretched one were not there sniveling in the dark, the other one, the flute player, could make no joyful music. In our world, the empowered don't just hide the scapegoated child. We laugh at them, criminalize them, call them dirty or violent, and then turn around and profit from the exact thing we punish them for. We steal their music, their flute playing, so to speak, and sell it back to them. We ban their appearance, but we call their features exotic on the right models. We say their neighborhoods are ugly until we move in, and we sell their food at double the price. I don't mean to suggest poor people are gatekept from beauty because they just can't create it. I firmly argue the opposite. The child of Omelas, contrary to the insistence of its citizens, is perfectly capable of enjoying the richness of life to the same extent as the free citizens that celebrate in vibrant parades. Maybe the ugly find beauty in different ways, maybe along different aesthetic standards, but ugliness is literally what births beauty. It's our universal metric for defining beauty as its polar opposite. By being entrenched in ugliness, the poor and ugly have this terrific advantage of perspective that is ridiculed by the beautiful out of fear of having to be immersed in the same painful conditions that naturally accompany the phenomenon of beauty. So they, the poor and ugly, are told their creations aren't worth anything until somebody beautiful touches it, validates it, and markets it, whether that be a man in the case of Ramabai's Girl Bride or the fortunate people of Omelas. And once the world finally turns its head and says, wait, maybe you're the blueprint, It's too late. The ugly people have already been pushed out. They're no longer there to reap the joy of the thing they built. Beauty as a rigid construct tells poor people they're ugly, but beauty as a movement, an ebb and flow, a yin-yang, so to speak, proves that the construct is a lie. Now, the artist who exposes this, the one who breaks the illusion and names the theft from the ugly, they're committing treason. They tell us that the fascinating thing about evil, what triumphs it over the mediocrity of good, is that they are often one and the same. Evil and good are the synonyms of beauty and ugly. Ugliness in particular is a misunderstood, complicated, and paradoxical state, with endless dimension, capable of producing endless beauty. Beauty is flat, complacent, and carefully constructed to demean, demoralize, and destroy. Maybe in that way, beauty can find its way back to ugliness. Maybe that's why we find the frozen yogurt shop in place of the fruiteria jarring, or why a fashion mall bulldozing a flea market makes us pine for the days where you could pick up a counterfeit luxury sweater for a quarter of the original cost. But, at the end of the day, we prefer fashion over fleas, and froyo over fruit flies. The stagnant qualities of beauty, its unwillingness to bend and break and succumb to the weight of hardship, all make it antithetical to what makes us fallible, to what makes us human. Thus, the rejects of Omelas leave their paradise. They leave in search of the ugly and poor, the defective bits of the soul that search for dignity outside of illusion. But they don't go to save the child or burn Omelas down. They leave because they understand that confronting injustice doesn't always mean erasing the systems that created overnight. Instead, it starts with a shift in perspective, a personal reformation that refuses to see ugliness as a failure and beauty as a virtue. Similarly, in the real world, reformers cannot simply reverse things like gentrification and all of its different manifestations by force without causing inevitable disruption to the communities that are not equipped to handle that crazy change. Change comes not from destroying the built environments, but from challenging the assumptions that shape it. City beautification projects treat existing neighborhoods as eyesores to be colonized rather than living, meaningful spaces. When aesthetics are used as justification for erasure, the working class loses not just their homes, but their right to define what beauty means. Recognizing that is the essential step in preventing exploitation masked as progress. It's why I'm a firm believer in poor and ugly people staying in ugly, not poor, places. And we've met splendor of a sunset, the symphony of honeybees, and that's way too slow. The question is, though, is a suitor to be good for a woman? What does that sound? And secretly, they are these hideous representations of what the is that? What is that? Literal and figurative prostitutions, system. Once you see this price, it's hard to unsee it. This illusion of beauty is almost real. You can't feel it. What the Who speaks like that? You can't feel it. They leave. Change comes not from destroying the built environment, but from changing the assumptions that shape it. Change comes not from destroying the built environment, but from changing. Change comes not from destroying the built environments, but from challenging the assumptions that shape it. City banning exploitation,